Life Goes On at the 23rd Annual Long Island International Film Expo, happening September 30th to October 8th, screening almost 200 independent films from around the world. Come to Samania Mall in Westbury, Friday, October 2nd and Saturday, October 3rd for our weekend drive-in films, or watch virtually all week long on the device of your choice. Receive full schedule and ticketing info, plus details on our closing night party with Kathrine Narducci and Maurice Dubois at longislandfilm.com. And remember, things may happen, but life goes on.
Welcome to Stage, Screen, and In Between with Helen. I'm HELEN Proimos. Thank you for tuning in. I have a very special guest for you today, Debra Markowitz, who is the Nassau County Film Commissioner. She is also the director of the Long Island International Film Expo, and she sits on the board of Long Island Film and Television Foundation. But that's not all. She's also a distinguished writer, director, filmmaker, producer, author, and I think the list goes on. Debra, welcome.
Helen, great to see you.
Great to see you too. Now, you're in the midst of the 23rd Annual Long Island International Film Expo that's been running from September 30th. We'll go to October 8th. How do you feel about things that have been going out? It's virtual, drive-in, we're not at the Bellmore Movies. How do you feel about all this?
Exhausted, basically. It's difficult to reinvent a film festival in its 23rd year, but you know, the show must go on. And so we decided that we were going to try to wait for the theaters, and they still haven't opened. So about a month ago, we decided we needed to go virtual. So even if the theaters open, we were going to. And we really wanted to have a presence, at least for some of the filmmakers. So we decided to have the drive-in for 4 blocks this past weekend. Wish we could have did it for everyone, but unfortunately, you know, we just couldn't. But I'm feeling pretty good about it. What we tried to closing party, which will be this coming Thursday, and that'll be for people who have gold passes, for the sponsors, for the filmmakers, the participating filmmakers, is we tried to do it a little different than other people were doing their virtual parties. So I got some celebrity guests and presenters, and we'll be presenting an award to Maurice Dubois from WCBS TV and Kathrine Narducci from The Sopranos and The Irishman, and Jeremiah Kipp, who's moving up in the directing world, and he's now doing some television and whatnot. And I got Eileen Kristen from One Life to Live, and Ryan's Hope is going to be a presenter, and Kevin Brown from 30 Rock, as well as Geraldine Lear, who plays Karen Stone on Manifest, Brian O'Halloran from the Clerks movie. So and there's a couple of surprise guests in there, but we're trying to make it at least a little fun for the filmmakers. So
he's a riot, Brian, I'm telling you. Now, how much work was entailed in this, as opposed to, because I think, didn't you have, it was 189 or 193 films, between films, music videos, and pilots? You know, was there more to it?
Way too much work. We took more films than we usually do, thinking, oh, they're virtual. You know, how hard can that be? Well, the thing we forgot, because we all have COVID brain right now, is that every film we take is a tremendous amount of work, from getting all their information, to getting their information on the website, to making sure that the film works, to making sure that we have their trailers and we can promote it. And I mean, the list goes on and on. And then there's judging the nominees and everybody watching the films. And the thing that was so difficult is because we didn't know up until a month before what we were going to end up doing, that we couldn't get the journals printed, and we couldn't get posters made, and so everything we did in this last month specifically, and it's been nuts.
Oh my gosh. Now, how do you decide who the celebrity's going to be, the honorees? How do you decide on that?
Well, that's a really interesting question. Well, we picked Jeremiah because last year at the film festival, I was talking to several of the filmmakers, and they were all saying how Jeremiah is doing what we all want to do. We all want to make movies full time, and we want to get paid to do it. And he's actually being successful at that. And he's also there to always lend a helping hand. He's there to support if you're having a premiere, and he's there to talk up your work, and he's there to give you feedback. And he always takes the time to do that. So he just seemed like the perfect person to give a Creative Achievement Award, because now he's done some TV. He did Grave Discoveries, and the future's really bright for his career. So that's why we did him. And we picked Kathrine because I've been following her work, and as many of us have been. And she has so many projects coming out, between playing Joe Pesci's wife in The Irishman to, of course, we all know her from The Sopranos, but also her work in The Godfather of Harlem that just came out. The Irishman just came out. And
she was in The Bronx Tale.
Wasn't a Bronx Tale. And also she does independent film. So she just seemed like the perfect person to basically to honor, you know, to bring out, and wish we could have done it in person, but who knew what would happen this year. But and she's also a tremendous artist. I don't know that people know that she's an incredible artist.
Yes,
So,
she's actually, I think she's going to have an art show on City Island.
mm-hmm.
It's coming up, I believe.
A lot of art shows, and she just seemed like the perfect person this year.
That's terrific. Now, I can remember going back, because I've been coming to the festival, I think, since you initiated it. And I remember Edie Falco being on it before she was even on The Sopranos.
That's right. Before that, before Nurse Jackie. So I'd been in some of Eric Mendelssohn's films. And I think she was just starting with The Sopranos at that point. But we've had so many people over the years. We even had, Paul Dano, who ended up being in Blood, There Will Be Blood. But before that, he had done Michael Cuesta's film L.I.I.F.E, and he had come to the film festival. And then a year later, he's huge. He's everywhere. And we don't have any pictures. I don't know anybody who has any.
Oh, no.
I know, but at the time we were new. We didn't have a photographer. We didn't, it was at the Malvern Cinema. And so we've had people who have really come up, through the years that have started at LIIFE. So, it's we know better now. Everybody's got a cell phone. We didn't have cell phones back then. 22 years.
Not at all. You had to have your Instamatic camera with you, right?
And if you didn't have a camera, you didn't get pictures. So
I wanted to say, I was at the drive-in on Saturday night. I had a great time, and I was very pleased. Look, I have my Long Island International Film Expo mask. And, they really did it very nice. Annie and Henry were there, and you had a choice of the red mask, a blue mask, a black mask, to coordinate your outfit. But, they were explaining to me that the guidelines for having the drive-in were very strict. If you left your car, you had to have a mask on. All the crew had to have their temperature taken. You had to have the mask on. They did provide a food truck, and the films were great. The only thing is, with the mask, what I did miss was the filmmakers not having the tag on them to say, I have such a film and this is my name. But I did see Lou Martini Jr. there and Tony D'Antonio, because they were screening their
film
TV pilot Sober there. So we got to say hello, because I had done an interview with them and I got to meet them in person. As a matter of fact, when I saw them, I said, "You look familiar. Are we Facebook friends?" And she says, "Well, I'm Tony D'Antonio." I said, "I interviewed you last week." And, I got to meet her in person. So that was nice. And then we got our book with all the films, and so we could follow along with the synopsis, et cetera, et cetera. And I have to give a shout out and credit to Marie Sharduli and Ralph Sharduli, who had the big 40-foot screen there that blew up almost instantly. I want to get a video of that. I missed that. It went up so quickly. But I also want to give a shout out to your partner in Intention Films, John Marine, right?
Yep, John is the man behind the screen.
He is a dynamo, and I want to give him a little recognition. He does so much behind the scenes, an unsung hero, and he was there making sure that all the footage went off as it was supposed to. And I think that this virtual and drive-in was a little, it's a little nightmarish because it's new.
Yeah.
Right?
The first year of anything is always the most difficult, and this is the first year for both the virtual and the drive-in. I hope it's the last year. I'd love to go back to the theater where we could see each other and and whatever. But
Yeah, yeah. But anyway, Ann and Henry were there, and Howard Simon was there, Corey Diskin, Karen Rizzo, so, and also I got to speak with the manager of the Samania Mall, who was nice enough to let you hold it, whatever you had to go through, a protocol, to have it in the parking lot there. And he was thrilled about it. He loved it.
Yeah, David Ackerman, a heck of a nice guy. Yeah, he actually, spoke to Rick Everly, who's our PR person, and said, you want to do something, and we're like, perfect, right in Westbury. So that was wonderful. So
it really was. And the thing is, like, trying to get the word out about the drive-in. I had people contacting me saying, oh, where is it? I want to go. And I said, well, it was Friday and Saturday. Now you can see the films virtually, which has its own rewards from the comfort of your living room, right?
Yes.
Even your phone.
Yeah. And there's people who can't go out because they're compromised or whatever, that they can't go out. So that's perfect. We bring the movies to them as well.
Yeah. Now, how do you decide what genre a movie will go into? Because sometimes a movie is short, or a feature, but it could fit in various categories. Do you kind of take into account that if I put them in such a category, they can't go up against this one? They won't really have a chance at the recognition or the award. Does that come into play?
It's really difficult. I stopped being a judge probably around three or so years ago. I try to watch some of them if I'm hearing interesting comments or if I know the filmmaker, but because I make so many of my own films, I did, and because I know so many filmmakers, I don't tend to watch them anymore. But a lot of times it's, whether you want the darker films at night, when people are going to come in, you want more family-oriented stuff during the day. It doesn't always work out the way we want it to because time is a consideration. If you want to stick with 2-hour film blocks and all you got left is this 10-minute film you want to put somewhere, it's like, all right, it'll go there. And so we try and put like guidelines in the journal and on the site to say, this isn't really suitable for children, or this is. I mean, it's really this huge game of juggling hundreds of films until you decide the 100 or so, at this point, 189 that we were going to stick with, and just putting them wherever we thought they would fit.
Now, how are you going to go about filming the honorees or filming the people when they accept awards? Will they know in advance? Is that something that you can't do in advance? I mean, how are you doing that?
Well, the only people who got their awards so far were the honorees. We shipped them their trophies because we knew who they were. And the people who won the Best Acting Awards, who will get those closing night because we knew who they were. They've already been judged. So they got their trophies. For everybody else, we emailed all the filmmakers and especially the nominees to tell them to please be there. And what will happen is, now again, this is the first time we'll be doing a party this big via Zoom, but like they have to hit the raise hand icon, plus they've got to mention in the chat room they're there. And then John will have to find them and they speak and he'll pull them up. It's, it's going to be a little nuts, but I'm sure it'll be fine. The opening party went well, but we had a much smaller portion of people. We're going to have a lot more for the closing. But you know what? The good thing is the people who can't travel from, across the sea are going to be able to join,
Yeah. Do you think that would be something you might have as an add-on to? I mean, when you get over this initial shock of all the work it's been, do you think that maybe, that might be a convenience for people that can't travel from out of town? To do something like that virtually, because that's really interesting, I think, and then you get to see Kevin Brown, who is a great MC, and I mean, you get to see all that.
Yeah, we've been talking about it. Something we've actually been talking about for years. We talked a little bit more about it this time. Do we even go to the Bellmore, and even if it's just me and Ann and Henry and John and a couple of other people, but then Zoom it in, but John does all the technical stuff. So for him to run a Zoom room and the program, and it just, it just would be too much this year because we're really run ragged this year.
Yeah. He's only one man. He's only one man.
Exactly. So it's something we would consider in the future. But he needs somebody there with him to handle this part of it while he handles that part of it. He can't do it all himself.
Yeah, you need an add-on. He needs some help, he does. Mm-hmm. So let's talk something about your films, because you've had a lot of success with your films. So tell us what you've been doing lately and what's coming up.
All right. Well, I have, the interesting thing is I haven't written a lot during COVID time. I've written probably 3 or 4 shorts, but I usually write a lot more than that, and I just haven't. But I started with, I think, like 7 films that were in post, and they're all out except for 2 of them. So I got Gem and the Photo Op out, and that managed to get to a couple of festivals, and Confidant's been winning festivals, and a couple of guys, the first episode is finally done. So I started submitting that. That's part of my series. So the first episode of Couple of Guys is submitted and needs to be submitted. The second episode, we just need the header of it, and we just approved the sound. And then the third episode, we had actually finished shooting the third episode, so that's in the can, but all the post work has to be done for that. And then I have a feature called The Only Woman in the World that's now fully edited, and now it's on to the composer. I just got the first full pass of the composition, so I have to listen to that. But now it's also on to post sound as well as the color grading. So I was hoping that was going to be out in 2020, but I think it's going to be more like 2021. Long process. And I also did a film that I shot, that I directed, that John shot, a film called Fourth Row Center that was written by Frank Vespi. So we shot that, even though Nassau County is in phase 4 of film production, we shot it as phase 2 because we wanted to be as safe as possible. So everybody distanced. We only had less than 10 people on set, and we were very careful with that. And we also came out of post on a film written by Anthony Labriola called Living Like Kings that I directed, that John actually starred in.
Really?
Oh. So that's now done, and it's starting to be submitted. That was a lot of fun.
What's that one about?
It's about a man who basically his life has gone to hell, and he's lost his wife, and he's in danger of losing his farm, and he befriends a ghoul. It's a little horror thing, and it's okay. It's really cool. It's really a cool little project, and so that's out now and being submitted.
How did you convince him to do that? Well, he was a teacher. He's an acting teacher, isn't he?
Well, he went to the Yale School of Drama, but he was mostly on the technical end. He'd done a lot of theater in high school and some in college, and he had some acting. He did a lot of musicals, and he was always a leading man. And when we were looking for the actor to do the role, I had mentioned, well, what about John? And he looked at, oh my God, John would be great. And so he did that. And in fact, John's auditioning for a role in another movie. And the guy asked him, does he have any footage? And I didn't have Living Like Kings on me at the time, but we remembered he's done several features in the past. So he's trying to find all the footage and stick it together. And I had to laugh because one of the roles was a chop shop owner from Brooklyn. So, it's talking like this. And I had to laugh because, John's from upstate Binghamton. He's worked to make his diction very, very perfect over the years and very precise. So to hear him talking like that is hilarious. But, he had to find his films he had been in to pull it all together. And I also, I don't consider myself an actor, but I've also acted. And so that one director had asked me if I would play this one role in the movie. I'm like, okay. And I said, maybe I should dig up all the other stuff I've done because I just have never dug it up. I've been in several features, and just that's what I had wanted to be when I was younger. I find that myself a better fit behind behind the camera these days. But every now and then it's fun.
You know what I find funny with all the editing and compiling that John does when they ask, it's like the shoemaker without any shoes. When they ask for tape on himself, he's like, I got to scurry and get it together. Well, it's a good thing he's techie and he can do that. And for you too.
And then we realized, until just recently, I didn't realize how outdated our reels were. Because my directing reel has 3 films on it. I've done like 12 films, but we never, I never look back. And same thing with my writing. I think I have 3 or 4 films in there, and I need to add a bunch. And he has to get. Well, I don't know that the films that he just worked on aren't final yet, but he's directed. Not directed. He shot a series because he's a director of photography. He also shot. There was a short film he shot. There was another project. So now he's got to, once those are done, he's got to get pieces and put his reel together, that's to update it a bit.
So do you find it difficult juggling all the balls? Because it's like you got to keep all the plates spinning, right?
Yeah, I find that you can't stop because if you stop, everything falls in. But Yeah, it's been a journey to try to keep it all going. And, like people are like, well, when do you find the time? I said, well, when you sleep, or
Yeah.
when you take that vacation, or do you know when you take a day off, you're relaxing, I'm working,
Yeah,
So,
you're 24/7. But it's a labor of love with you guys. You just love it. So you eat, sleep, and drink it. It's just part of who you are at this point. You just keep doing, and doing. And I want to mention that it's not too late to get tickets for the Long Island International
that's
Film
right.
Expo. Go to longislandfilms.com. Unfortunately, by the time this airs, my show does get broadcast on network television. The expo will be over by then, but you can look for it next year.
Right.
And if you go to Facebook, Stage Screen, and In Between with Helen, give it a like. All the episodes that are upcoming, including this one, will be noted. You'll know when you can watch it on TV. If it doesn't come on television in your area, it does live stream, so you can watch it from your computer, your phone, etc., etc. And it's always on YouTube. So, Debra, I have a couple of questions for you, if you don't mind.
Of course.
Something that you did as a kid that you wouldn't try today.
Something I did as a kid that I wouldn't try today?
That you wouldn't? What?
Skitching. You know what that is?
No, I don't even know
when
what
you
it
hold
is.
on to the rear of a car in the snow.
Yeah, I did that.
I did that. I wouldn't do that again. Yeah.
Oh no.
Oh,
that's dangerous. Yeah, I know, but that could be a horror story for a horror movie.
You're immortal when you're younger.
Did you ever hitchhike?
Yes.
That's another dangerous
It
thing.
is another thing I would never do again.
A lot more dangerous these days than back then, but wow, you're a chancy lady.
What are you going to do?
Okay, here's another one. You've been offered to tour Dracula's castle in Transylvania. Do you go?
Well, it depends who I can go with. I would probably go. If John could go with me, I would go. Absolutely.
You would go?
Yep.
Is there any place, you're always so busy doing films and writing books, et cetera, et cetera. Do you get to travel, or do you have a wish to see any part of the world in particular?
We went about, I think it was 2 years ago. Maybe not quite 2 years ago, but my friend Kieran, who's going to be singing on closing night, he's from Ireland, Kieran Sheehan. He was one of Broadway's Phantom of the Operas. And he said, look, a bunch of us are going to get together and we're going to go hit all the spiritual sites of Ireland, and you guys should come. And I told John, I don't care what it costs, we're going. I've never been anywhere. And so we went with about 12 different people who some of them I knew and had an absolute blast. It was 8 days. And then next year, we were going to go to Ireland, not Ireland, to Italy. And I don't know if that's going to happen. So I want to go to Italy and Greece, I think, and maybe France. So those three, and I'm good. I'm done.
Yeah. And it's fortunate. I did quite a bit of traveling, and I'm glad that I did, because who could have ever anticipated that this would happen? Usually it's like, I don't have the time, I don't have the funds, I don't have the right person to go with, or my feet aren't up to it. Who would have ever considered that we'd have a pandemic? And I do want to shout out to everybody who's been affected by this, physically. I hope you get better. And to all the workers in the hospitals, etc., who've been helping all along. Thank goodness for all of you. We're still in the midst of this, and we're still trying to keep our sunny side up. And I think that that's one thing that the Long Island International Film Expo does. It takes you out of whatever negative effects you've been having. It makes you relax for a little bit. And it's so great, really, that you can just scroll through the website, see what movies, shorts, feature lengths, pilots, music videos, trailers that you'd like to see. And it's inexpensive. And just sign in for the block. And then you can see that block for 24 hours, right, Deb?
Yes, exactly. And it's only $7 a block,
Yeah. So you don't get to see just one thing that you want to see. You get to see the whole thing. And I think that it's something that people that are not familiar with independent films, they can really get a taste of it now and see that when we can go back to the Bellmore Movies again, we can, it would interest them to journey out of their houses and become part of it, right?
Absolutely.
So Deborah, on this note, what words of wisdom do you have for anybody that's starting out or maybe has had limited success and wants to give up in making films? What advice can you give them to help them keep going?
Well, there's only really one reason to make a film, and that's because you feel that you have to. Because if you think you're going to do it because you're going to make $1 million, you're not making $1 million. You know,
It's going to cost you, possibly.
Exactly. You're going to more than likely lose a lot more money than you're going to make. So you have to have the feeling for it, the heart for it, and decide what you want to do it. Some people just make a film because they want to get themselves on screen, and that's not necessarily a bad thing if you're talented, but to me, it's about the story. You know, I keep saying, yeah, I'm going to write something and I'm going to write a part for myself. And they said, yeah, but I can't direct it if I'm in it, you know, so, and then I give it to somebody else.
Yeah.
I want to do what's the best thing for the story. For me, it's all about the story. And of course, there's the team. You know, you got to have a great team to work with. But if I can't personally feel the story, then I don't want to do the project because, you know, the way I feel is if this makes me feel something, I know my audience is going to feel it. So if you're starting, do it for the right reasons. If you just want to try to make a film, then try to make a film. You don't necessarily have to show it to anybody if it doesn't come out very good. Understand it's always a learning process. The other advice is don't necessarily listen to your family because they're going to either tell you it's really good or it sucks. And neither one of those may have anything to do with how good the film really is.
Right. So I want to ask you, Debbie, because we're running out of time. Now, the submissions are basically through Film Freeway. Is that how they do it?
Yes, yeah, and we should be opening probably in another week or two. We'll be opening again. So
really,
you can also go to find out about the film festival. You can go to longislandfilm.com. If you go to longislandfilm.com, you'll see when submissions open, or you can find us through Film Freeway. But we usually tell people to go through the site because every now and then a festival pops up that has a very similar name to ours, and it's certainly not us. So I always say go to longislandfilm.com. And then you'll find out more about the Long Island International Film Expo, also known as LIIFE, L-I-I-F-E. So it's a distinction.
Well, Deborah, thank you so much. And I look forward to seeing you someday in person.
Yes, you shall.
And enjoy the rest of the festival. Thanks,
Thank
baby.
you, Helen. Take care.
Okay.
Be well.
Bye.
Bye.